Almost everything about Shubman Gill has been automatic. 2017-18, if someone asked you which youngster showed the most promise in age group cricket, there would have been one likely answer. Because at the 2 years in the under-19 level, including a player of the tournament show in the World Cup in 2018, Gill made 1,149 runs at an average of 104.5 and a strike rate of 103.2. That's not me making it up, that's real. At the end of the 2010s, if you're wondering who would follow in the tradition of the great Indian batters, the automatic choice would have been him. Gill had a first-class average of 67.3 and crossed 50 every second innings he batted. Selectors, IPL team owners, teammates, everyone said when looking for the next batting superstar, the next leader, it would be him. Shikhar Dhawan hadn't done too much wrong in ODI cricket, but he had no issues with the selectors dropping him for Gill. When Hardik Pandya was traded from Gujarat Titans back to the Mumbai Indians, the Titans owners didn't even have to ask the question. It was clear who their next franchise leader would be. And when another Indian selection panel needed to appoint a new test captain, they were faced with the same question and of course arrived at the same answer. Gill has dominated every stage of cricket he has spent time in. International tests took a little bit longer. The higher standards and the bowling-friendly era he debuted in meant that he wasn't stacking runs the way he used to. But even there, Gill showed what he could do when presented with flatter pitches against England. Perhaps the only question mark about him was T20 cricket. He obviously had some success in the IPL, so it wasn't a question of whether he could succeed in T20, more about whether he was the right fit with his batting style for the philosophy of the new game and specifically how India play it. But of course, when the Indian selectors brought him in, they didn't just select him for the side, they made him vice-captain. So that means that Gill has become an automatic selection when it comes to India. And they're obviously fast-tracking him to all-format captain. But is he part of India's best T20 side? Because they are treating him like a certainty. But for the Indian T20 team, is he even automatic? My latest book is The Art of Batting. It delves deep into how the best players ever made their runs. Get your copy today. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. If you want to be part of the community that makes content like this, head over now. Gill, the T20 player, can't be judged without nuance because there's a huge shift in his game from 2023 onwards. And also in T20 internationals, he's been a little bit sporadic, so it makes a lot more sense to look at his IPL record. And you could see the radical difference in the impact Gill has in his T20 innings from 2023 onwards. Until the IPL of 2022, Gill's impact per innings was under 1. Now it's at 3.68, basically 4 times better. The difference is even more stark when you look at his true values. Before 2023, he was slower than average and was scoring a neutral amount of runs. He was not a negative batter, but he was scoring about the same as other players did in his position, but taking longer to do so. So the transformation from 2023 to now is stunning. He's not only scoring more, but he's doing it way quicker. Gill has spoken about this at various points in the last couple of years, particularly in IPL 2025. He's recognized the need to accelerate his run making in the impact player era. And that all makes a lot more sense because the anchors that came before Shubman Gill were usually already in their prime by the time we were all like, score quicker. Here's a player who's still working out how he wants to play, and the game is moving, and so he has evolved with it. So before 2023, he was in the same cluster as Kane Williamson, Shreyas Iyer, Manish Pandey, and Badi Raju and Virat Kohli. That's not a cluster you wanted to be in 2023. Since then, Gill is approaching elite figures. He scored quicker than Virat Kohli, Sanju Samson, Jitesh Sharma, Tilak Varma, Shivam Dube, Ishan Kishan, and Rohit Sharma, just amongst the Indians. He's actually been quicker than Jos Buttler as well. I mean, who would have put money on Gill scoring faster than Buttler, Samson, and Dube in a 3-year IPL period? That defies perception, which is another reason why true values are so much better than just naked strike rates. Gill used to be a fantastic player against spin in that previous period, but since 2023, he's made a quantum leap against pace and spin. He's now solidly positive against the quicks, but elite against the turning ball. And that's a bit counterintuitive for a man who almost exclusively opens the batting. Only 18 of his 161 IPL innings have not been at the top, and none of those since 2020. You could make an argument looking at these numbers that he should be batting at number 3 or number 4, which might be something that India try in the future. But the caveat, of course, with that is he's more set when the spinners come on. So maybe it would be different if he came out straight away to play against the turning ball. But being that India keep finding all these openers, if they wanted to bring in Suryavanshi or Jaiswal or whoever the next 12-year-old is who starts hitting hundreds, they might be able to do that and just bat Gill at number 3 or 4. And against pace since 2023, Gill is in a cluster near Tim David and Heinrich Klaasen. That's elite company. Anyone's taking that. But against spin, Gill is almost in a category of his own. Abhishek is a madman. Rajat Patidar, Klaasen, and Nicholas Puran are clear outliers versus spin. Jaiswal, Sai Sudarshan, and Shreyas all strike at a good rate, but almost never get out against the turning ball. And Gill is kind of in between those groups. His true strike rate is actually higher than Sky, Shreyas Iyer, and Jaiswal, even though he does get out more frequently than they do. A potential Indian middle order of Sky, Gill, and Shreyas could annihilate opposition spinners. But there's more interesting stuff when you look at Sky. His performance in the first innings compared to the second innings. Because his entire improvement since 2023 has been driven by first innings runs. He's still actually a bit of a middling second innings player. So it's almost as if Shubman Gill is the anti-Virat Kohli when it comes to T20 cricket. This also makes him the anti-archetypal anchor type batter, because they generally tend to do better in the second innings with a target inside. In the first innings, their style of play means that they leave some runs on the field. And yet for Gill, the opposite is true. In the first knock, he's like a Formula 1 car that self-drives, taking every corner perfect and at high speed. So what has led to Gill's steep improvement in T20s? Apart from the mindset shift due to the impact player and the natural evolution of batters in this format, it's actually how Gill has shifted gears that is most interesting. He is in control of an astounding 83% of his attacking shots, which is a filthy number. He's inverted the high-risk, high-reward situation, and he's getting massive rewards while cutting out risk. How do you even do that? Well, Gill attacks relatively fewer balls than almost any other batter. He attacks when it makes sense to do so, meaning it's a poor ball or something in his wheelhouse. On the surface, this should mean a slower rate of scoring. But because every single time he executes a shot, he does it so flawlessly, he's still above the rate. Gill may not hit out as much as other batters, but when he does, he makes almost every single one of them count. Gill, Ruturaj Gaikwad, and Mitchell Marsh have great strike rates when they attack, because they do so when the odds are in their favour. And even amongst those three, Gill has done it for a far greater amount of balls. Alongside efficient attack, what Gill has also done is proactively look for a lot more 2s and 3s versus pace and spin. So that means he's upped his strike rotation game, which is crucial if you're not going to attack as much. So while he's whacking more judiciously, he's also getting runs from the deliveries that aren't there to be smashed. And both of these things have elevated his T20 batting just well beyond what you would expect. Since 2023, Gill is like a surgeon in precision, but a sledgehammer in force, all set to like a Swiss timepiece. Others spray bullets with machine gun, and Gill is an elite sniper. He uses full of bullets, but racks up just as many kills. He will wait for the right moment longer than anyone else, but almost never misses his chance. This is perhaps a different strain of anchor, with Gill at the vanguard of a new breed. Keeping the batting order together the same as always, but with the ability to punish all the bad balls, and still keep a higher rate while waiting for those loose ones. Instead of defaulting to singles like a traditional anchor, Gill is looking for balls to hit boundaries all the way through and executing that perfectly. But instead of accepting agreed upon singles to the guys on the rope when he can't hit a 4, his backup is 2s. So it's not that he is reimagining the anchor position, just severely upgrading it. Is this even something that others could do? Because this is the dream, right? A player who can average huge amounts without chewing up balls and knocking the ball for 1 when another player would whack it. However, that doesn't mean he's automatically deserving of a spot in India's T20 11. But more importantly, because he's made himself so efficient, it also doesn't mean that he's undeserving either. Being the riches that India currently have in T20 cricket, there's always going to be a high quality batter on the sidelines. Indian fans will have to get used to the conversation about how someone else could always come in, because the conveyor belt of talent never stops. But the Venn diagram of batters who can score consistently and quickly and offer insurance, well, Gill is in a vanishingly small group. You would have to argue that as long as he keeps doing all three, he's probably earned a place in this side. Gill is doing his job, churning out the runs and keeping a modern T20 pace. But in doing so, India has an automatic scorer who also shoots straight every time. Are you as chronically online as Moses Enriquez? Then here's another video for you. Or if you also like books and stuff, you can buy my new one on the art of batting. If you loved this video, hit the bell icon to be notified for more.